The notification chimed precisely at 2:17 p.m. Josephine Winters glanced at her phone, expecting another payment reminder from the student loan servicer. Instead, she saw an email from a law firm representing Harrison Reed, CEO of Nexus Technologies. They probably want to sue me for that blog post about tech ethics. Jo muttered to herself, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. The veterinary clinic was quiet. Tuesday afternoons usually were. She opened the email out of curiosity and nearly dropped her phone. Ms. Winters, Mr. Reed requests a meeting regarding a mutually beneficial proposal. Compensation, $150,000. Confidential. Today, 5 p.m. 3 hours later, Jo found herself in the gleaming headquarters of Nexus Technologies. She'd changed from scrubs into her one decent outfit, black pants and a forest green blouse that brought out the flecks of gold in her hazel eyes. Her hands clutched her worn leather satchel, nails bitten down from the stress of the past months. Ms. Winters. The voice was deep, controlled, precise. Reed stood by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle. Tall and imposing in a tailored charcoal suit, he turned to face her. His dark eyes assessed her with clinical detachment. Everything about him radiated calculation from his perfectly trimmed beard to the measured way he gestured toward the chair across from his desk. "Thank you for coming on such short notice," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Your email mentioned compensation that could help my sister," Jo replied directly. "I'm listening." A flicker of surprise crossed his face before disappearing. Behind his composed mask, "Efficient? Good. I'll be direct then. I need a fiancé for 8 days. Jo blinked. "Excuse me?" "Not real, of course. A performance." He sat down, folding his hands on the desk. Nexus is partnering with Westfield Medical to develop groundbreaking medical technology. Their board is traditional, family-oriented. They've been hesitant about my involvement due to my personal reputation, which is cold, ruthless, unmarried at 37. His tone remained factual, unbothered. Their chairman, Eleanor Bishop, has invited me to her estate for a week-long retreat with key stakeholders. Having a warm, compassionate partner would significantly improve our chances of securing this partnership. Jo's mind raced. Why me? Surely there are professional actresses, your sister Olivia Winters, diagnosed with Friedreich's ataxia, needs specialized treatment that your insurance won't cover. He slid a folder across the desk. You graduated at the top of your class from veterinary school despite working 2 jobs. You volunteer at animal shelters. Everyone who knows you describes you as genuine, kind, and intelligent. Anger flashed in Jo's eyes. You investigated me? Thoroughly. He didn't apologize. I need someone authentic. Someone who can't be linked to me through social circles. Someone with a compelling reason to accept. Jo opened the folder. Inside were her sister's medical records, financial statements, and a contract. $150,000. All medical expenses for your sister covered for the next 5 years. In exchange, you convince everyone that we're engaged, deeply in love, and that I'm capable of human connection.
Oh.
Jo closed the folder. This is ... manipulative. It's business, Harrison corrected. You get what you need. I get what I need. Clean, simple. There's nothing clean or simple about pretending to love someone. Harrison leaned forward slightly. And don't think of it as love. Think of it as acting. Can you do that, Dr. Winters? Can you act convincingly for 8 days to save your sister? Jo stared at him, hating the calculation in his eyes, hating more that he'd found her weakness so precisely. One condition, she said finally. No physical intimacy beyond what's absolutely necessary to sell the story. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Agreed. We leave Friday morning. My team will prepare you. Jo stood, extending her hand. We have a deal, Mr. Reed. His hand enveloped hers, warm and firm. Harrison, he corrected. If we're to be engaged, you should use my name. As their hands disconnected, Jo felt a strange certainty that she'd just made a deal with the devil in an expensive suit with eyes that saw too much and felt too little. Impressions, the Bishop estate sprawled across 30 acres of pristine Washington coastline. Jo stood on the gravel driveway, taking in the grand Victorian mansion with its wraparound porch and meticulously maintained gardens. Harrison's hand rested at the small of her back, a practiced gesture that felt both foreign and strangely comforting. "Ready, darling?" he murmured, his breath warm against her ear. Jo nodded, slipping into character. "Always, sweetheart." Eleanor Bishop greeted them on the steps, a regal woman in her 60s with silver hair swept into an elegant chignon. "Harrison, we're delighted you could join us." Her shrewd eyes assessed Jo. "And this must be your fiancée. I've heard remarkably little about her." "Josephine Winters," Jo offered with a warm smile, extending her hand. "Harrison likes to keep his personal life private, but I couldn't resist joining this weekend. His passion for the Westfield partnership is contagious." Eleanor's expression softened slightly. "A pleasure, Josephine. Come, let me introduce you to everyone." The next hours passed in a blur of introductions. Jo met the Westfield board members, their spouses, and various corporate executives. Harrison remained close, his fingers intertwined with hers occasionally, pressing a kiss to her temple when he thought others were watching. His performance was flawless, tender glances, attentive gestures, the occasional intimate whisper that made her laugh genuinely. During dinner, placed between Harrison and Dr. Thomas Westfield himself, Jo found herself genuinely engaged in discussion about veterinary applications for the technology Harrison and Westfield were developing. The neural interface could revolutionize treatment for injured wildlife, she explained, her passion genuine. "Imagine being able to precisely locate pain points in animals who can't communicate verbally." Dr. Westfield nodded enthusiastically. "I hadn't considered that application. It's a fascinating perspective, my dear." Harrison watched her, an unfamiliar expression crossing his face. When she caught his eye, he smiled, the practiced smile he'd been wearing all evening, but something softer, almost surprised. Later that night, in their shared suite with its king-sized bed and ocean view, Jo kicked off her heels with a groan. "You were remarkable tonight," Harrison said, loosening his tie. "They're completely convinced." "I wasn't acting during the medical discussion," Jo admitted, sitting on the edge of the bed. "The technology is genuinely revolutionary." Harrison paused, studying her. "You understand the science better than most of my engineers?" "Ow. I did consider research before choosing veterinary medicine." She shrugged. "I preferred healing to theory." He nodded, processing this new information. "Take the bed. I'll sleep on." "The couch? Are you sure?" "The bed is enormous. I honor my agreements, Josephine." The following days fell into a rhythm. Mornings spent in business meetings where Jo observed Harrison's brilliant mind at work. Afternoons filled with sailing, hiking, and carefully orchestrated moments of affection. Evenings of dinner conversation where Jo's genuine warmth balanced Harrison's strategic precision. On the fourth day, during a charity auction for children's medical research, Jo noticed Harrison watching her as she bid enthusiastically on a painting. "What?" she whispered when she returned to his side. "You donated $5,000 to children's research. That's a significant portion of what I'm paying you." Jo flushed. "It's for a good cause." "It's illogical. You need that money." "Some things matter more than logic, Harrison." Later that night, she found him on their suite's balcony, staring at the ocean. Without his customary suit jacket, sleeves rolled up, and hair slightly tousled by the breeze, he looked almost human. "Eleanor told me she's convinced," he said without turning. "She believes I've found my missing piece." "That's good, isn't it?" "The partnership seems closer." Harrison turned, moonlight casting shadows across his face. She said, "You make me better." "More human," he hesitated. "I'm beginning to think she might be right." Jo's heart stuttered unexpectedly. "It's just part of the performance, is it?" His gaze was intense, searching. "You donated to charity, spent an hour helping Eleanor's granddaughter with her science project. You remember everyone's names, their children's names, their pets' names?" He stepped closer. "None of that was in our agreement. It's just ... who I am exactly." His voice dropped lower. "Who are you, Josephine Winters?" "Beyond what my investigation uncovered." For a moment, the performance fell away. They were just two people, standing in moonlight, seeing each other clearly for the first time. Someone who's afraid this is becoming less of an act than it should be. she admitted softly. Harrison's phone chimed, breaking the moment he checked. His expression shuddering. Business calls. We should rest. Tomorrow's the gala, the most important event. As he walked away, Joe wondered if she'd imagined the regret in his eyes. Fracture's the gala transformed the Bishop estate into a fairy tale. Fairy lights twinkled in the gardens, classical music drifted from a string quartet, and champagne flowed freely.
Out.
Herself in the midnight blue gown Harrison's stylist had selected off-shoulder. Form-fitting with a subtle shimmer that caught the light as she moved, Harrison entered from the adjoining room, stopping abruptly when he saw her. For once, his composed mask slipped, revealing raw appreciation. You look... double quotes. He cleared his throat. The dress suits you, Joe smiled, noting his custom tuxedo. You clean up nicely yourself. At the gala, they played their roles perfectly. Harrison kept her close, his hand a constant presence at her waist. They danced, his movements precise and controlled, his eyes never leaving hers. To anyone watching, they appeared deeply in love. They're about to announce the partnership, he murmured during their third dance. Eleanor confirmed it. We've succeeded. Joy filled Joe's chest knot for the success of their deception. But for Harrison, congratulations. This means everything to you. Not everything, he said, so quietly she almost missed it. The announcement came with flourish. Glasses raised, contracts mentioned, Harrison called to the stage. He spoke eloquently about the future, about healing and innovation. His eyes found Joe's in the crowd as he thanked the woman who reminded me why this work matters. Joe felt a strange ache in her chest. In another life, in another story, his words might have been genuine. As the celebration continued, a familiar voice cut through Joe's reverie. Well, isn't this cozy? She turned to find Daniel Thorne, a pharmaceutical representative she'd dated briefly in veterinary school. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Daniel, what are you doing here? Westfield Collaboration. I'm representing Meridian Pharmaceuticals. His gaze slid to Harrison, who was deep in conversation across the room. Interesting company you're keeping. These days, quite an upgrade from a broke vet student. Joe maintained her composure. Excuse me, I should join my fiancé. Daniel caught her arm. Does he know about the real Josephine Winters? The one with the pathetic daddy issues? The one who couldn't keep it together when things got tough? The words hit like physical blows, reopening old wounds. Go of me. Always wondered how you'd pay for your sister's treatments, now I know. His voice dropped to a whisper. Much is Reed paying you? Or is the arrangement more... intimate? Joe pulled away, her chest tight with panic. Memories flooded back her father's abandonment. Daniel's emotional manipulation during the darkest period of her life. The breakdown that nearly cost her veterinary license. She moved through the crowd. In a daze needing escape, the bathroom provided temporary sanctuary, but her reflection showed mascara tracking down her cheeks. Joe tried to compose herself to return to the performance, but her hands trembled as she dabbed at her face. A knock at the door. Josephine, are you in there, Harrison? She couldn't let him see her like this. I'll be out in a minute, she called. Voice steadier than she felt when she emerged. Harrison's concerned expression told her she hadn't erased all evidence of her distress. What happened? Nothing. I'm fine. He stepped closer, examining her face. You've been crying. It's nothing. An old acquaintance brought up unpleasant memories. Joe attempted a smile. The partnership is announced. That's what matters. Harrison's eyes darkened. Who upset you? It doesn't concern you. This is ... personal. We had an agreement. Yes, an agreement. Joe's voice cracked. I pretend to love you. You pretend to care about me. But it's just business, right? Clean and simple. She walked away, needing air, finding herself on a secluded balcony overlooking the gardens. Minutes later, Harrison appeared beside her, offering his jacket. Daniel Thorne, he said quietly. He's being escorted out for inappropriate behavior. Toward another guest. Joe wrapped the jacket around her shoulders, surprised. How did I pay attention? Harrison's voice was gentle, especially to you. The tenderness in his tone broke something inside her. A tear slipped down her cheek, followed by another. She turned away, embarrassed by her vulnerability. Sorry, this isn't professional. Harrison stepped closer, hesitantly reaching to brush away a tear. What did he say to you? He knew me during a difficult time. My father had abandoned us. My sister's condition was worsening, and I was working myself to exhaustion trying to stay in school. Joe took a shuddering breath. Daniel, ... He made me believe I needed him, then used my vulnerabilities against me. When I stopped being convenient, Harrison's jaw tightened. He won't come near you again. It's not just him. Joe looked up, meeting Harrison's gaze. I'm tired of pretending, Harrison. Pretending I'm okay. Pretending this arrangement doesn't affect me. Pretending I don't see something in you worth caring about, despite everything. For a moment, they stood in silence, the admission hanging between them. Then Harrison did something completely unexpected. He pulled her gently into his arms, holding her against his chest, one hand cradling the back of her head. You don't have to pretend with me, he whispered. Not anymore. Revelation's dawn broke over the ocean, painting the horizon in shades of gold and rose. Harrison stood at the window of their suite, watching the day begin. Behind him, Joe slept soundly on the bed, still wearing her gala dress, her face peaceful. In repose, he'd spent the night on the couch, watching over her after her emotional breakdown. Something fundamental had shifted between them. The carefully constructed performance had cracked, revealing something raw and real underneath. It terrified him. Harrison Reed didn't do vulnerability. He'd built his empire on calculated decisions, on never letting emotion cloud his judgment. Yet here he was, feeling protective, possessive even, over a woman he'd hired to play a role. When Joe stirred, he turned. She sat up slowly, disoriented, then remembered the events of the previous night. Embarrassment colored her cheeks. I'm sorry about last night, she said, voice rough with sleep. Don't apologize. Harrison handed her a cup of coffee prepared, exactly as she liked it. How are you feeling? Mortified but surviving. She accepted the coffee gratefully. Thank you for taking care of me. Harrison sat beside her on the edge of the bed. I made some calls this morning. Daniel Thorne has been removed from the Westfield project. Joe's eyes widened. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. Harrison hesitated. Josephine, I need to tell you something about why this partnership matters so much to me. Rarely spoke about himself, about his motivations beyond profit and innovation. But something compelled him to share the truth with her. My mother died when I was 12. Cancer. Experimental treatments failed. I watched her waste away, helpless. The admission felt like pulling out splinters, painful but necessary. The technology we're developing with Westfield could have saved her, could save others like her. Joe's hand found his, her touch gentle. I didn't know. No one does. It's not information I share. He looked at their joined hands. After she died, my father became ... different. Cold. He taught me that. Emotions were weaknesses, that success required detachment. Is that what you believe? Harrison considered the question. I did, until this week, until you. The air between them charged with possibility. Joe's eyes searched his, looking for deception, finding none. Harrison and knock interrupted them. Harrison's assistant, bearing urgent news. The Westfield board wanted to finalize details immediately. Business intruded, as it always did. Hours later, after meetings and contract discussions, Harrison found Joe in the estate's library, curled in a window seat with a medical journal. It's done, he announced. The partnership is official. Genuinely, congratulations. You achieved what you wanted. Not everything, he admitted, sitting beside her. Josephine, our arrangement ends tomorrow. You'll receive the full payment as agreed, plus arrangements for your sister's care. Thank you. She closed the journal. What happens now? That depends. Harrison took a breath, stepping into unfamiliar territory. Would you consider staying? Not as my pretend fiancé, as yourself. Joe's expression softened. "What exactly are you asking, Harrison?" "I don't know," he admitted, the uncertainty new and uncomfortable. "I know I'm not an easy man. I know my life is complicated. I also know that when you're around, I feel ... more human. More alive?" Joe reached out, her fingers tracing his jawline. "You've never done this before, have you? Been vulnerable with someone?" "Never." The word came out rough. "Neither have I, not really." She smiled sadly. "We're both damaged, Harrison. Me by abandonment, you by loss. We both built walls. Maybe," Harrison caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. "Maybe we could learn to lower them together." That night they talked for hours. Really talked. About her childhood, his ambitions, her fears, his regrets. When exhaustion finally claimed them, they fell asleep side by side, fully clothed. Hands intertwined between them, morning brought clarity. Harrison woke early, making a series of phone calls while Joe slept. When she finally stirred, he was sitting at the desk, focused intently on his laptop. "Harrison," she murmured, voice thick with sleep. He turned, something different in his expression. "I've been thinking about what you said, about pretending, and I don't want to pretend anymore either." He stood, moving to sit beside her. "I've made some changes this morning." Joe sat up, suddenly alert. "What kind of changes?" "I've transferred $5 million to a research foundation focused on Friedreich's ataxia, specifically earmarked for developing treatments." His eyes held hers steadily. "And I've stepped back from the Westfield partnership." "What? Why would you do that? It's everything you've worked for." "Not everything." Harrison took her hands. "The partnership will proceed, but I'm not leading it. I've appointed Dr. Jessica Bennett from my team instead." Joe stared at him, stunned. "You're walking away from your mother's legacy?" "No, I'm honoring it differently." His thumbs traced circles on her wrists. "My mother wouldn't have wanted me to build this technology at the cost of my humanity. She would have wanted me to find balance, to find ... connection." The implication hung between them, breathtaking in its vulnerability. "Harrison," Joe whispered, "what are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to try something real, with you. No contracts, no pretending." His voice grew softer. "I'm saying I think I'm falling in love. With you, Josephine Winters. And it terrifies me." Beginnings, 6 months later, Joe stood in the reception area of her newly opened veterinary clinic, surveying the space with pride. Sunshine streamed through large windows, illuminating modern examination rooms, state-of-the-art equipment, and a comfortable waiting area filled with plants. A dream realized, made possible by Harrison's investment, not a gift, but a proper business partnership. The bell above the door chimed. Harrison entered, carrying coffee and looking decidedly less corporate in dark jeans and a gray sweater. His smile, once so rare, came easily now when he saw her. "Dr. Winters," he greeted, kissing her cheek. "Your first day is going well?"
Yeah.
3 appointments this morning, 2 more this afternoon. Joe accepted the coffee gratefully. "Mostly routine. Checkups, but there's a rescue German Shepherd coming in with some health issues." Harrison nodded, understanding her passion for rehabilitation cases. "I have a board meeting at 2, but I wanted to see how you were settling in." Their relationship had evolved slowly, deliberately. No rushed engagements or grand gestures, just a people learning to trust, to be vulnerable, to build something. Genuine. Harrison still worked long hours. Joe still worried about her sister. They faced these challenges together now, finding strength in their connection. "Will you come by the house tonight?" Harrison asked. Olivia's physical therapist is giving a progress report. Joe nodded, warmth filling her chest at his involvement in her sister's care. Olivia now lived in the guest house on Harrison's property, receiving the best treatment available while maintaining her independence. The experimental therapy, funded through Harrison's research foundation, showed promising results. "I'll be there," she promised. Around 7? The rest of the day passed in a blur of appointments and administrative tasks. By evening, Joe was exhausted but fulfilled as she drove to Harrison's waterfront home, a place that had begun to feel like her own. She found them on the patio, Harrison and Olivia engaged in an intense chess match. Her sister looked healthier than she had in years, her movements more controlled, her laughter easier. "He's cheating," Olivia announced when she spotted Joe. Harrison feigned offense. "I'm strategizing. There's a difference." Joe watched them, her heart full. This unlikely family they'd created, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. Later, after dinner and the therapist's encouraging report, Harrison and Joe walked along the private beach. The setting sun painted the water copper and gold, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of salt and possibility. "I have something for you, Harrison," said, reaching into his pocket, produced not a ring, but a key. "I had the security system programmed to your biometrics months ago, but I thought, maybe it's time you had this too." Joe took the key, understanding its significance. "Are you asking me to move in? I'm asking you to come home," he clarified. "Whenever you're ready. No pressure, no timeline." Joe smiled, curling her fingers around the key. "I still have 6 months on my apartment lease. I know. And I snore when I'm tired. I've noticed during our movie nights. And I'll bring that hideous orange armchair I love." Harrison winced. "We can ... discuss the furniture." Joe laughed, then grew serious. "It won't be perfect, you know. We'll fight. We'll hurt each other sometimes, without meaning to, I know." Harrison took her hands. "Perfect is overrated. Real is better." "When did you become the optimist in this relationship?" she teased. "When you showed me that vulnerability isn't weakness." He brushed hair from her face. "When you taught me that the risk of pain is worth the possibility of joy." Joe stood on tiptoe, pressing her forehead to his. "I love you, Harrison Reed. Not the CEO, not the businessman, just you. And I love you, Josephine Winters. Not the perfect fiancé, not the veterinarian. It's just you with all your complications and contradictions." His arms encircled her waist. "No pretending. Not ever again." As the sun disappeared below the horizon, they walked back toward the house, toward the future they were building together. Two broken people who had found in each other not completion, but complement the courage to be imperfect, the strength to be vulnerable, and the wisdom to know that love, real love, begins precisely where pretending ends.